Get down. The bullet missed Naomi's head by inches. Minjun tackled her to the floor as her apartment window exploded into deadly glass. His hand clamped over her mouth. Don't make a sound. Footsteps thundered outside. They're coming for you, he whispered. And if I don't get you out of here in the next 60 seconds, you're dead. She tried to speak, but he pressed harder. The engagement ring in your drawer. I was never going to give it to you, because the woman I'm supposed to marry just sent a kill team to make sure you disappear. Her mind went blank. What? My father runs the Kang family. We own half of Seoul's underground. And you were never supposed to be anything more than a distraction. The door exploded off its hinges. Men in black masks poured in, weapons raised. Minjun pulled a gun, firing twice. 2 bodies dropped. Move! He yanked her toward the fire escape as bullets chased them into the Seoul night. Welcome, my restless souls and late-night believers. If you've been riding with me, you know we don't do happy endings that come easy here. We do love that costs everything. Your name, your family, your empire. We do the kind of passion that turns safety into a memory and comfort into a lie you can't afford. And if you're new, buckle up because you're about to witness what happens when 8 months of beautiful lies detonate in a single night of gunfire. He thinks he can protect her from his world. He has no idea she's about to become the reason he sets it all on fire. This isn't just a forbidden romance. It's an empire burned for one woman. Hit that like button like you're making the choice he made. Subscribe because some love stories don't ask permission. They take hostages. And smash that notification bell because in this world, the people you love become the weapons used against you. But none of this chaos, none of this blood, none of these lies started with gunfire. It started with a smile. 8 months earlier. The mural stretched. Across 3 stories of crumbling brick in Hongdae, a riot of color against Seoul's grey November sky. Naomi stood in the middle of the narrow street, camera raised, completely blocking foot traffic. She didn't care. The light was perfect, that golden hour glow cutting through the late afternoon smog, illuminating the artist's work like it was breathing. You're going to get hit by a scooter. She lowered her camera. The man standing 3 feet away wore a black cashmere coat that probably cost more than her monthly rent. Hands in his pockets, expression somewhere between amused and concerned. Dangerously handsome in that specific Seoul way. Sharp jawline, skin that looked like he'd never seen the sun. Dark hair styled with the kind of carelessness that took effort. Then I'll get a great shot of the accident, she said, raising the camera again. He laughed. Actually laughed. Not the polite corporate chuckle she'd gotten used to from her English students. You're American. You're observant. Atlanta? She lowered the camera again, suspicious now. How did you... Your accent. My company has offices there. Plus, you're standing in the middle of a Korean street like you own it. Only Americans and Australians have that energy. He stepped closer, tilting his head to see what she was shooting. The mural's better from the coffee shop across the street. 3rd floor, window seat. I don't take suggestions from strangers. Minjun, Kang Minjun. He extended his hand, and when she took it, his grip was firm, warm, confident. Now we're not strangers. Still not taking your suggestion. Then take coffee instead. I'll buy. You can ignore my artistic opinions, and we'll call it even for me saving you from vehicular manslaughter. She should have said no. She'd been in Seoul long enough to recognize the type. Rich, bored, collecting foreign experiences like Instagram posts. But something in his smile felt different. Dangerous, maybe. The kind of danger that looked like an adventure instead of a mistake. 1 coffee, she said, and I'm keeping my camera out. The coffee shop was exactly where he said it would be, tucked above a vintage clothing store that smelled like mothballs and someone's grandmother's attic. The 3rd floor was empty except for an elderly woman reading a newspaper behind the counter. Minjun ordered in rapid Korean, easy and familiar. Nothing like the careful textbook phrases Naomi still struggled with after 14 months. The window seat framed the mural perfectly. She hated that he was right. See? He set down 2 Americanos, settling across from her. Sometimes strangers know things. Sometimes strangers are stalkers who've memorized the best photography angles in Hongdae. I'm a venture capitalist. We memorize everything. He said it smoothly, like he'd practiced. Startups, investments, growth markets. Seoul's tech scene is exploding right now. I spend a lot of time in this neighborhood. It sounded plausible. Everything about him sounded plausible. The expensive coat, the confident English, the easy way he inhabited space like he'd never been questioned. Naomi wrapped her hands around the coffee cup, watching steam curl between them. "What kind of photography?" he asked. "The kind that doesn't pay rent. I teach English at a hagwon in Gangnam. 6-year-olds who think my hair is a science experiment." She touched her locks self-consciously, a habit she hated but couldn't break. "The photography's just what I actually want to do. Someday." "What's stopping you?" "Money. Visa complications. The fact that National Geographic hasn't discovered my genius yet." She smiled, but it hurt a little. The truth always did. "What's your excuse? Why venture capital instead of something you actually want?" He looked at her for a long moment, something shifting behind his eyes. Later, she'd remembered this moment. Later, she'd realized this was when he made the choice. "Family business," he said finally. "Sometimes what you want doesn't matter." They talked until the elderly woman started stacking chairs, a universal signal in any language. Minjun walked her to the subway station in Hapjeong, hands in his pockets again, maintaining that careful distance that felt intentional. At the entrance, he stopped. "Can I see you again?" "Why?" The question seemed to surprise him. "Because you're interesting. Because you don't care what I think about murals. Because—" He trailed off, shook his head. "Because I want to." That's not really an answer. It's the only one I have right now. She should have walked away. Instead, she pulled out her phone. "One more coffee. If you're boring, I'm ghosting you." His smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. "Deal." She didn't notice the black sedan parked across the street, engine running. Didn't see the man in the driver's seat lift a phone to his ear, speaking rapidly in Korean. Didn't know that Minjun saw it, registered it, filed it away as a problem for later. That night, in her tiny Haebangchon apartment, Naomi uploaded the mural photos to her laptop. In 3 of them, Minjun was visible in the background, a dark figure in an expensive coat watching her work. She almost deleted them. Instead, she created a new folder. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Coffee shop. "Same time next week? I'll let you prove I'm boring. MJ." She stared at the message for a full minute before responding. "You better not be a serial killer. Venture capitalists don't have time for hobbies." She laughed despite herself, alone in her apartment with its view of nothing, and typed back a simple yes. Across Seoul, in a Hanok compound in Pyeongchang-dong, where ancient tile roofs met reinforced steel gates, Minjun stood in his father's study. Kang Tae-young sat behind a desk made from a single slab of cherry wood, his hands folded. The dragon tattoo that began at his collarbone disappeared under his collar, but everyone knew it wound down his arms too, his fingertips, each scale representing a territory claimed, a rival eliminated, a decade of blood. Ji-won's father called, Tae-young said. His voice was quiet. It was always quiet. "The engagement party is scheduled for next November, 1 year from now." "I know. Do you?" His father stood, moved to the window overlooking the inner courtyard. Snow was beginning to fall, early for the season. "Because my sources tell me you spent 3 hours in Hongdae today, with a woman." Minjun said nothing. There was nothing to say that wouldn't make it worse. "You have 1 year, Tae-young said. "I'm giving you that. 1 year to get this rebellion out of your system. Sleep with whoever you want. Pretend you're someone else. But next November, you will marry Ji-won. You will unite our families, and you will take your place." He turned, and his expression was almost gentle. Almost. "After that, you can keep whatever distractions you need. Just keep them quiet. And if I refuse, then you're not my son, and Daehyun becomes heir." Tae-young returned to his desk, the conversation already over in his mind. Your brother isn't ready. He's too soft, too American from those university years. He'd get himself killed within a month. You know this. Minjun did know this. Dae-hyun was 26, brilliant with numbers, useless with violence. Their father had sent him to Wharton to learn legitimate business, hoping he'd come back hardened. Instead, he'd come back asking questions about ethics and exit strategies. 1 year, Tae-yang repeated. Don't waste it. In the hallway outside, Dae-hyun was waiting, leaning against the wall with his phone out, pretending not to listen. His tattoos were newer, thinner, cranes in flight up his left forearm, cherry blossoms around his wrist, symbols of peace and beauty. Their father hated them. You're actually doing this? Dae-hyun asked in English, their private language. Doing what? Playing civilian, dating for real. He pocketed his phone. Hyung, you know how this ends. Maybe it doesn't have to. It always does. You think father's bluffing? Dae-hyun's expression was somewhere between pity and fear. He'll kill her if he has to. To prove a point. You know he will. Minjun didn't answer because they both knew it was true. 1 year, he said finally. That's all I'm taking. But that was the first lie, the first of so many. The second coffee became a third, then a Friday night routine, then something that bled into weekdays and weekends until Naomi lost track of when she wasn't with Minjun. He was careful, she noticed. He never talked about work in detail, never invited her to his apartment, always met her in public places, in neighborhoods that felt deliberately chosen. Itaewon with its international crowds, Hongdae with its anonymous chaos. Never Gangnam despite her Hagwon being there. Where do you actually live? She asked one night in December. Bundled against the cold outside a Pojangmacha in Itaewon, soju warming her from the inside out. Pyeongchangdong, family place. It's old, traditional. You'd hate it. Why would I hate it? Too formal. Too much history. He poured her another shot, deflecting. Tell me about Atlanta instead. What does your family think about you being here? They think I'm running away from something. Are you? She considered the question, the soju making her honest. Maybe. Nothing dramatic. Just, I didn't fit there. Wrong major, wrong dreams, wrong everything. My mom wanted me to be a doctor. My dad wanted me stable. I wanted to see something that wasn't Georgia. She laughed. So, naturally I moved to a country where I can't read the signs and everyone stares at my hair. I like your hair. You're supposed to say that. You want to sleep with me. He didn't deny it, which she appreciated. Instead, he reached across the plastic table and touched one of her locks. Gentle, curious. Can I ask how long they take? To grow? Years? To maintain? Hours, every month. To explain to strangers? A lifetime. But she didn't pull away. Your turn. Family expectations. What were you supposed to be? The question hit different. She watched something shudder behind his eyes. That careful control she was starting to recognize. Exactly what I am, he said. That's the problem. Before she could push further, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. Still controlled, but tighter now, jaw set. I have to go. Early meeting. At 9 p.m? Investor call, West Coast time. He stood, pulling out his wallet, dropping too much money on the table. I'll text you. He was gone before she could argue, disappearing into the Itaewon crowd like he'd been trained in extraction. Naomi sat alone with the soju and the question he hadn't answered, watching snow begin to fall on the neon-lit street. Her phone buzzed an hour later. I'm sorry. Tomorrow? I'll make it up to you. MJ. She should have been annoyed. Instead, she felt something else. The beginning of a pattern she didn't recognize yet. You're buying dinner this time. Deal. What she didn't know, Minjun was in a warehouse in Yeongdeungpo, watching his father's men beat information out of a man who'd tried to skim money from a protection racket. The man's screams echoed off concrete walls. Minjun stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, expression blank. This was what he was supposed to be. This was the family business. His phone buzzed again. Naomi sending a photo, her view from the subway, blurred lights and her reflection in the glass, smiling. Getting home safe. Don't work too hard, venture capitalist. He stared at the photo while behind him. The man stopped screaming. One of his father's enforcers looked to Minjun for direction. He was supposed to give the order. Finish it. This was who he was. Instead, he walked out of the warehouse, texting back a lie. Already done. See you tomorrow. In the car, his driver, Kim, loyal for 20 years. Present. At Minjun's birth, complicit in everything. Spoke carefully. Sir, your father asked me to remind you. I know what he asked you. The clock is running. I said I know. Silence. Soul lights streaked past, the city beautiful and indifferent. Kim tried again. The girl. She seems nice. She is. That makes it worse, doesn't it? Minjun didn't answer. There was no answer that didn't end in blood. December became January. The relationship deepened in inverse proportion to what Minjun revealed. Naomi met none of his friends, never saw his apartment, knew nothing about his family except that they were traditional and complicated. She told herself it was cultural difference, that Korean families move slower with introductions, that she was being impatient. But there were moments that didn't add up. The way people looked at him in certain restaurants. Not recognition exactly, but careful acknowledgement, like he was someone important. They were pretending not to notice. The phone calls he'd take in Korean, walking away fast, voice dropping into command mode. The scar on his shoulder blade she discovered during their first intimate night, 3 inches long, too clean to be accidental. Bar fight, he said when she asked, kissing her neck to distract her. College. Stupid. You don't seem stupid. Everyone's stupid at 20. It worked. She let it go because she wanted to, because what they had felt good, felt real in a way nothing had since she'd landed in Seoul. He made her laugh. He listened when she talked about her photography like it mattered. He showed up when he said he would, except when he didn't, and his apologies were always sincere, always accompanied by something thoughtful, a book on Korean street art, a vintage lens for her camera, once a keychain from the Hongdae mural where they'd met. You're ridiculous, she said, holding the keychain. It's a keychain. You're the one who took 17 photos of that wall. It's a good wall. It's a great wall. I have taste. He pulled her closer. His apartment still a mystery. This moment happening in her cramped Haebangchon space that barely fit them both. Like choosing you. Choosing me from what? The question came out lighter than she meant it. But she felt him tense. Just slightly. Just enough. From a very boring life, he said, and kissed her before she could ask what that meant. February brought her birthday. Minjun took her to a restaurant in Cheongdam-dong, the kind of place where menus had no prices and servers moved like ghosts. Naomi felt underdressed, despite the dress he'd had delivered to her apartment that morning. Simple, black, perfectly tailored, somehow exactly her size. How did you know? She'd texted. I pay attention. Now they sat in a private room, traditional floor seating, the kind of luxury she'd only seen in K-dramas. The food kept coming, course after course, each one a small work of art. This is too much, she said. It's your birthday. I would have been happy with tteokbokki and soju. I know. That's next weekend. He poured her wine, expensive and red, his movements practiced. Tonight you get this. Why are you with me? The question escaped before she could stop it. Wine making her brave or stupid. Really, you could date anyone. Korean girls who get your culture, who speak the language, who what? Fit better? His expression was unreadable. You think I want someone who fits? I think you're hiding something. The words hung between them. For a moment, she thought he'd deflect again, change the subject, kiss her until she forgot. Instead, he set down his glass. I'm hiding everything. he said quietly. But not from you. From them. Them who? My family. My father. The life I'm supposed to live. He looked at her directly, and she saw something raw there. Something that looked like trapped. You asked what I want instead of venture capital. The answer is this. You. Nights where nobody's watching. A life that's mine. Minjun, I can't give you normal. I can't introduce you to my family. I can't. He stopped, jaw tight. There's a timeline. Things I can't explain yet. But I need you to trust that what I feel is real. That's not fair. I know. I deserve to know what I'm getting into. You do, and I'm asking you to wait. Just a little longer. He reached across the table, took her hand. Can you do that? She should have said no. Should have walked out, demanded truth, protected herself. Instead, she squeezed his hand back. How much longer? I don't know yet. It wasn't an answer, but she took it anyway, because she was already too far in, because love made people stupid, because she wanted to believe him. Later, walking through Cheongdam-dong's pristine streets, she noticed the car following them 3 blocks back. Black sedan, tinted windows, keeping perfect distance. Do you see that car? She asked. Minjun didn't look. What car? The black one. It's been following us since we left. Paranoid. He pulled her closer, steering her down a side street. Soul's safe. You worry too much. But he'd steered them away deliberately, she realized later, and the car hadn't followed. It had just disappeared, like it was never there, or like someone had called it off. March came with false spring, cherry blossoms blooming early, tourists flooding Seoul's parks. Minjun took her to Yeouido at dawn, before the crowds, when the petals were still untouched and perfect. They walked under the canopy of pink and white, her camera working overtime, him quieter than usual. What are you thinking? She asked. That this won't last. The blossoms? That's kind of their thing. Beautiful and temporary. Everything beautiful is temporary. That's dark for 7 a.m. He stopped walking, turned to face her under the falling petals. If I asked you to leave Seoul, would you? The question came from nowhere, punched her sideways. What? Hypothetically, if I asked you to leave, start over somewhere else, would you? Minjun, what's happening? Nothing. I'm asking. But his expression said it wasn't nothing. Would you? She thought about it. Her life in Seoul was precarious anyway. Teaching visa, month-to-month apartment, photography dreams that felt further away every day. But leaving felt like failure, like running again. Maybe, she said carefully, if there was a reason, a good one. What if the reason was me? Then I'd need to know what I'm running from. He looked like he was about to say something, really say something, break open whatever truth he'd been holding. But his phone rang. Unknown number. He stared at it for 3 long rings before answering, walking away, speaking in rapid Korean she couldn't follow. When he came back, his face was stone. I have to go. Now? Family emergency. I'm sorry. He kissed her forehead, already moving toward the park exit. I'll call you later. Minjun, but he was gone, swallowed by the early morning crowds, leaving her alone under the cherry blossoms with questions that had no answers. What she didn't know, his father had just informed him that Jiwon's family was pushing the engagement party forward to October. 7 months instead of 12. The timeline was collapsing. What she didn't know, the emergency meeting he was racing to involved a territorial dispute in Incheon that had left 2 of their men dead. Minjun would spend the next 8 hours in a room with his father, Jiwon's father, and representatives from 3 other families, negotiating violence like it was corporate merger. What she didn't know, he would come to her apartment at 2 a.m., exhausted, something dark behind his eyes, and hold her without speaking until dawn. Bad day, she'd whispered. The worst. Want to talk about it? No, I just want to be here. She'd let him stay, wrapped around her in her tiny bed, his breathing eventually evening out into something like peace. In the darkness, she'd noticed something she'd never seen before. His sleeves had ridden up, and there, on his wrist, was the edge of something black and intricate, a tattoo. She'd almost asked about it. Instead, she'd pulled his sleeve down gently and gone back to sleep. That was March. By April, the cracks were showing. He cancelled twice in 1 week. When they did see each other, he was distracted, checking his phone constantly, that careful control fraying at the edges. She caught him once, staring at nothing, jaw clenched like he was holding back words that would break everything. "Talk to me," she said. "I can't. Can't or won't. Both. Minjun, this isn't working. The secrets, the disappearing, I know." He pulled her close, desperate. "I know. I'm sorry. Just trust me. Please." "That's all you ever say. Because it's all I have." They fought more. Small things that were actually big things. Why couldn't she meet his family? Why didn't he ever stay the full night? Why did he flinch every time she asked about his past? She felt herself becoming someone she didn't recognize, needy and anxious, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But then he'd show up with coffee exactly how she liked it, or text her a photo of something beautiful he'd seen and thought of her, or hold her face in his hands and look at her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. "I love you," he said one night in May, the words coming out rough, like they hurt. "You love me, but you won't tell me the truth. I love you because I can't tell you the truth. If you knew—" He stopped. "You'd leave. And I don't think I'd survive that. So instead you want me to stay in the dark. I want you to stay, however I can have you." It should have been romantic. Instead, it felt like a confession, like he was already apologizing for something that hadn't happened yet. May became June. Her teaching contract was up for renewal. She had to decide, another year in Seoul, or cut her. Losses, go home, figure out what came next. Minjun was careful not to influence her decision, which felt like influence itself. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "Stay." "Why?" "Because I'm not ready to lose you yet." "Yet," she repeated. "You just said yet." "Naomi, you're planning the ending already. That's what this is. You know this has an expiration date and you're just— What? Using me while you can?" "No." He grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. "No, I'm trying to figure out how to keep you. There's a difference." "Then let me help. Tell me what we're up against." But he couldn't, or wouldn't. The words died in his throat like always, and she was left with half-truths and promises that felt like lies. She renewed the contract anyway. She told herself it was for her photography, for Seoul itself, for the life she was building. But they both knew it was for him. June brought summer storms and humidity that made the city feel like drowning. Minjun's absences grew longer, sometimes 3 days without contact. Then he'd appear like nothing had happened, with apologies and explanations that explained nothing. She started noticing details she'd ignored before. The way he always sat facing the door in restaurants. How his eyes tracked movement constantly, scanning for threats she couldn't see. The scars she'd discovered during intimate moments. Shoulder, ribs, once across his abdomen, thin and surgical, like someone had tried to gut him. "You were in a lot of bar fights," she said dryly, tracing the one on his ribs. "Rough college. Or rough something else." He'd caught her hand, held it against his chest where she could feel his heartbeat, too fast. "Does it matter what happened before I met you?" "If it's still happening?" "Yes." "It's not." But that was a lie too. She just didn't know it yet. July. The National Geographic email came on a Tuesday morning while she was teaching grammar to disinterested teenagers. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she ignored it until lunch break. When she finally read it, her hands shook. Photography fellowship, Nairobi office, 12 months, all expenses paid, portfolio development, mentorship from professionals who actually mattered. The dream she'd stopped believing in, arriving in a subject line, Application due in 6 weeks. Decision notification in September. Start date December 1st if accepted. She read it 5 times before the screaming started. Her students back from lunch, chaotic and loud. She taught the rest of the day on autopilot, the words burning in her pocket. That night, she waited until she and Minjun were tangled in her sheets. That vulnerable space after intimacy, where truth felt possible. I got an email today. Yeah? He was tracing patterns on her shoulder, relaxed in a way he rarely was. From National Geographic. They want me to apply for a fellowship. In Kenya. His hand stopped moving. When? Application due mid-August. If I get it, I'd leave. In December. Silence. She felt him calculating, processing, all that careful control sliding back into place. You should apply, he said finally. That's it? You should apply? It's your dream, right? Dreams change. People matter more than... Don't. He sat up, running a hand through his hair. Don't make me the reason you don't do this. Why not? You've been the reason for everything else lately. Naomi, I love you. I'm saying I love you, and I'd stay if you gave me a reason to. But I need you to meet me halfway. Tell me what we are. Tell me what future we're building. Give me something real. He looked at her, and for the first time since they'd met, she saw him completely unguarded, desperate, trapped, breaking. I can't give you what you need, he said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. And if you have a chance to leave, to do something amazing, he touched her face, gentle, final. You should take it. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She should have pushed, should have demanded truth. Instead, she started crying, and he held her, and they both pretended it was about the fellowship and not about the ending they could both feel coming. She started the application the next day. If he wouldn't fight for her, she'd fight for herself. August arrived with brutal heat and news she didn't understand. Minjun showed up at her apartment unannounced, looking worse than she'd ever seen him. Exhausted. Something violent behind his eyes. What happened? Can I just stay here tonight? No questions? Minjun, please. So she let him in, and he collapsed on her bed fully clothed, asleep within minutes like he'd been awake for days. She sat in her desk chair, watching him, noticing things she'd stopped noticing. The way his jacket bunched at the hip, something heavy in the inside pocket. When she checked, curiosity winning over boundaries, she found a burner phone. Not his regular iPhone, something cheap, disposable, loaded with contacts, that were just initials. She put it back, hands shaking. In the bathroom, washing his face later, she saw the edge of ink above his collar. Not the wrist tattoo she'd glimpsed once. This was higher, darker, more elaborate. She pushed his collar down slightly. The tattoo ran from his collarbone down his shoulder, disappearing under his shirt. Geometric patterns interwoven with what looked like traditional Korean designs. Beautiful, deliberate, not something from a drunk college night. What are you doing? She jumped. He was awake, watching her in the mirror, expression unreadable. Looking at your tattoo. Why? Because you never talk about it. Because it's gorgeous. Because you hide everything and I'm tired of not asking. She met his eyes in the mirror. What does it mean? It means I come from somewhere you can't follow. Try me. But he wouldn't. He pulled his collar back up, that careful control locking into place again, and the moment was gone. 3 days later, she submitted her application to National Geographic. She didn't tell Minjun until it was done. I sent it, she said, over coffee in Hapjeong, the place where this all started. Good. That's it? Good? What do you want me to say? That you want me to stay. That you'll tell me everything if I do. That you love me more than whatever secret you're protecting. She leaned forward. Give me a reason, Minjun. One real reason. He looked at her across the table, and she saw him make a choice. Saw the exact moment he decided to let her go. I can't, he said quietly. I want to. God, you have no idea how much I want to. But I can't. Why? Because keeping you safe means letting you leave. I don't understand. I know. He reached across, touched her hand. That's the point. September came with her rejection from National Geographic. The email was kind, encouraging. Strong portfolio, close decision. Please apply again. It should have devastated her. Instead, it felt like relief. She could stay. She could keep trying to build something with Minjun, keep pushing for truth. When she told him, his face did something complicated. I'm sorry, he said. I'm not. I can stay. We can. Naomi, no. What do you mean, no? I mean, you should apply somewhere else. Look for other opportunities. You can't stay because of me. Why not? You said you love me. I do. That's why you have to go. That doesn't make sense. It will. Eventually. He stood, pulling out his wallet, that familiar gesture that meant he was leaving. I have to travel for work. I'll be gone a few weeks. What work? Where? Just take care of yourself, okay? He left without kissing her goodbye. She sat in the coffee shop alone, watching people pass outside the window, feeling the foundation crack beneath everything she'd built. What she didn't know. Minjun had just been informed that his father had moved the engagement party to October 15th, 6 weeks away. The timeline had collapsed. Completely. His year was up. What she didn't know, he'd already decided he wasn't going through with it. The consequences would be catastrophic, but he'd made his choice. He was just trying to figure out how to keep her alive when everything exploded. What she didn't know, he was about to start a war. The next 2 weeks were silence. No texts, no calls, no Minjun appearing at her door. Naomi taught her classes, worked on her portfolio, pretended everything was normal while quietly disintegrating. Her friends, other foreign teachers who'd watched this relationship spiral, tried to help. He's ghosting you, her friend Sarah said bluntly over drinks in Itaewon. Cut your losses. You don't know him. Neither do you, apparently. It was cruel because it was true. Day 15, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. There's a cafe in Samcheong-dong, Bora. Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Come alone. Who is this? No response. She stared at the message for an hour before replying. How I know this isn't dangerous? You don't. But if you want answers about Minjun, you'll come. She should have ignored it, should have blocked the number, maybe even called the police. Instead, she spent the night searching Samcheong-dong on Naver Maps, memorizing exit routes, telling Sarah where she'd be in case she disappeared. The cafe was traditional, tucked behind art galleries in a neighborhood too expensive for her usual soul. Inside, a woman waited. Early 30s, beautiful in that soul-rich way. Designer everything, perfectly styled. She looked up when Naomi entered, no surprise, like she'd been expecting exactly this. Naomi Carter, the woman said in perfect English. Sit. Naomi sat, fighting the urge to run. Who are you? Park Ji-won, Minjun's fiancé. The word hit like a physical blow. Fiancé, not ex, not past tense, present, active, real. I don't understand. Yes, you do. You're just hoping you're wrong. Ji-won poured tea from the pot between them, movements practiced and precise. He didn't tell you about me, about the engagement, about what he actually is. What he is? Not a venture capitalist, not some romantic escape from family pressure. Ji-won's smile was sharp. Did you really think the tattoos were just art? That the scars were bar fights? That a man like him would be with someone like you without a reason? Someone like me? Foreign, temporary, disposable. Ji-won sipped her tea. You were his rebellion, his last taste of normal before accepting reality. And reality is that he's Kang Minjun, heir to the Kang family, which runs everything from Gangnam to Incheon that isn't legal. And I'm his future wife, whether he likes it or not. Naomi's hands were shaking. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself why he never introduced you to his family. why he disappears for days, why he knows how to move like someone trained in violence. Ji-won set down her cup. Ask yourself why a man who claims to love you won't give you a future. Why are you telling me this? Because the engagement party is in 3 weeks, and I need you gone before then. Ji-won's expression didn't change, but something cold entered her voice. Min-jun thinks he can refuse, thinks he can choose you, but our families don't give choices. They give orders. And if you're still here when the party happens, you become a problem. Problems get solved. Is that a threat? It's a warning. Leave Seoul. Go home. Forget you met him. Ji-won stood, pulling on a coat that probably cost more than Naomi's entire wardrobe. Because if you stay, you won't just lose him. You'll lose everything. She left money on the table, too much, deliberately insulting, and walked out. Naomi sat frozen, tea growing cold, world rearranging itself into something unrecognizable. Mafia, Heir, engagement, fiancé, lies. Every moment with Min-jun replaying through a new lens. The careful neighborhoods, the scars, the disappearances, the way people looked at him, the tattoos he'd hidden, the phone calls he'd never explained, the secrets he'd kept like weapons. 8 months of beautiful lies. She wanted to vomit. Instead, she pulled out her phone, hands shaking so hard she could barely type. We need to talk. Now. No response. I met Ji-won. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, where are you? Same cafe. Stay there. I'm coming. He arrived in 20 minutes, which meant he'd been close. Meant he'd probably known about the meeting. When he walked in, she saw him differently. The way he scanned the room before sitting, the controlled violence in his movements, the man underneath the performance he'd been giving her. She told you, he said. Not a question. Is it true? Silence was confirmation enough. All of it? Your family, the engagement, the... She couldn't say mafia out loud. Everything? Yes. For 8 months you lied to me. I never lied. I just didn't tell you the truth. That's the same thing. No, it's not. He leaned forward, urgent. Everything I felt was real. Everything we had was real. The lies were what I am, not what I feel. You're engaged. It's arranged. I don't love her. I don't even like her. But you're still going to marry her. The pause told her everything. It's not that simple, he said. It really is. You love me or you don't. You choose me or you don't. If I choose you, you die. Do you understand that? My father, her father, our families. You become a target. They'll kill you to prove a point, to maintain order. I can't protect you from that. So your plan was what? String me along until the wedding? Keep me as a secret? Or just disappear one day without explanation? My plan was to have 1 year of something real before I became what they want me to be. His voice cracked. That's all I wanted. 1 year with someone who saw me as human. I'm not a consolation prize, Min-jun. I'm not your rebellion or your escape or your... The window exploded. Glass, noise, chaos. Min-jun was on her, before she could process, tackling her to the floor, his body covering hers. Above them, bullets punched through the cafe's walls, shattering porcelain, splintering wood. Someone screamed. The barista. Other customers. Min-jun dragged her toward the back, moving with precision that was absolutely not venture capital training. His hand was on her head, keeping her low. His other hand. He had a gun. Where did you... Not now. The kitchen. He shoved through, gun raised, checking corners like military. The back exit was clear. He pushed her through into an alley, and a black car was already there, engine running. Not empty. The driver was the same man she'd seen before, months ago, the sedan that had followed them in Cheongdam-dong. But now she understood. This wasn't following. This was protection. This was always there. Get in. Min-jun, what's happening? They're trying to kill you. We need to move, now. She got in because bullets made the decision simple. The car was moving before the door closed, tires screaming on pavement. Behind them, figures emerged from the cafe. Men in black, weapons raised. The driver didn't slow. Naomi's ears were ringing. Her hands were bleeding from glass. Min-jun was on his phone, speaking rapid Korean, voice hard and cold and nothing like the man she thought she knew. Who's trying to kill me? Ji-won's people. She didn't just warn you. She marked you. Why? Because I told my father this morning I'm refusing the engagement. Because I chose you. He grabbed her face, made her look at him. I chose you. And now they're going to try to kill us both until we're gone or dead. This is insane. This is my life. This is what I didn't want you to see. His phone was ringing again. He ignored it. We have maybe 24 hours before my father finds us. We can't go to your apartment. Can't go to mine. I have a place, a safe house. We go there. We figure this out. Figure what out? You just declared war on your own. Family. I know. He kissed her forehead, desperate, final. I know. But I couldn't watch you leave. I couldn't let them threaten you. I couldn't. His voice broke. I love you. And that means everything burns. The driver spoke in Korean. Min-jun's response was clipped, military. They turned onto a highway, leaving Seoul behind, heading towards something Naomi couldn't see. Her phone buzzed. Sarah, where are you? Someone shot up a cafe in Samcheong-dong. People are dead. Please tell me you're okay. She looked at Min-jun, at the gun now visible in his shoulder holster. At the tattoos she could see fully now, black ink disappearing under his collar, marks of belonging to something ancient and violent. I need to call my friend, tell her I'm alive. No calls, they'll track it. Min-jun, no calls, no social media, nothing that tells them where we are. He took her phone gently, powered it off. I'm sorry, but you're in my world now, and in my world, everyone you love becomes a weapon they use against you. If you're still here, you already know this isn't just a story. It's someone's life. Maybe even yours. The kind of love that doesn't ask what you're willing to give up. It just takes. And you let it. Subscribe, because the stories that find you at 2 a.m. are the ones that change you. The safe house was in Gangwon-do, 2 hours from Seoul, buried in mountains and anonymity. A traditional Korean house that had been reinforced with steel doors and security systems. Beautiful and fortified. The driver left them there, disappearing into the night with instructions Naomi didn't understand. Inside, Min-jun moved through the space efficiently, checking locks, closing curtains, transforming from her boyfriend into someone else. Someone trained. Someone dangerous. How long have you had this place? 5 years. Since I started preparing for the possibility I'd have to run. You've been planning this for 5 years? I've been planning escape since I was 15 and realized what my father actually was. He poured whiskey, drank it in one shot. I just never had a reason good enough to actually do it. Until me. Until you. She didn't know whether to be flattered or horrified. What happens now? Now we wait. My brother's coming. Dae-hyun. He's the only one in my family who might help. Might? He has to choose between me and our father. That's not an easy choice. What if he chooses your father? Min-jun looked at her, and she saw the answer in his eyes. If Dae-hyun chose wrong, they were dead. The brother arrived at dawn, alone, driving a car Naomi recognized from a photograph Min-jun kept in his wallet. Younger, softer features, but the same careful control. The same tattoos, though his were different. Cranes and cherry blossoms where Min-jun had geometric patterns. You actually did it, Dae-hyun said in English, staring at his brother. You actually chose her over everything. Don't start. I'm not starting. I'm marveling at your complete insanity. Dae-hyun turned to Naomi, and his expression was complicated. Hi, I'm the brother who told him this would end in blood. He didn't listen. Nice to meet you too. How bad is it? Min-jun asked. Father's mobilizing everyone. Jiwon's father wants you dead, both of you. The families are talking alliance against you, which hasn't happened in 20 years. You embarrassed them publicly, refused an engagement that was already announced, and got civilians killed in Samcheongdong. Daehyun poured himself whiskey. 9 a.m. be damned. So yeah, pretty bad. What about you? Father give you an ultimatum? Bring you home or become heir by default. Daehyun's smile was bitter. Congratulations, you made me the family's future. You'll be good at it. I'll be dead within a year. You know that. Then help me. Help us get out. Fake passports, money, a clean exit. To where? They have reach everywhere. You think running to America solves this? They'll find you. They'll find her family in Atlanta. Use them as leverage. Naomi's blood went cold. My family? You think they won't? Daehyun looked at her with something like pity. You're not just Minjun's lover anymore. You're a liability, a loose end. They'll threaten everyone you love until you come home to die quietly. So what do we do? Minjun asked. You have 48 hours. After that, Father's calling in every favor, every alliance. You'll have kill teams in every major city. Your only chance is to disappear completely. New names, new lives. Never contact anyone from your old life again. Daehyun set a bag on the table. Passports, cash, Bitcoin wallets. Enough to start over somewhere remote. Thailand, maybe. Vietnam. Somewhere our families don't care about. And you? I'll tell Father you got away. That I tried to stop you but you were already gone. He won't believe me, but he'll accept it because he has no choice. Daehyun stood, moved to the door. You're my brother. I love you. But you're also dead to me now. Understand? I understand. They embraced, brief and final. Daehyun started to leave, then turned back. She better be worth it. Minjun looked at Naomi. She is. When Daehyun was gone, Minjun opened the bag. 4 passports, 2 Canadian, 2 Australian, cash in multiple currencies, USB drives with encrypted cryptocurrency access, the building blocks of disappearance. This is really happening, Naomi said numbly. This is really happening. I can't just leave. My job, my apartment, my friends are all gone. The moment you get in contact, they trace it. The moment you go back, you're dead. He pulled out a phone, new, clean, no history. You get 1 call, 1, to tell someone you're okay and you're disappearing. That's it. Her hands shook as she dialed Sarah's number, memorized from months of friendship. Naomi? Oh my God, where are you? The police are looking. I'm okay. I can't explain. But I'm leaving Seoul and I won't be back. What? Why? What's happening? I'm sorry. Tell the school I had a family emergency. Pack up my apartment if you can. Donate everything, I don't care. Just tell people I'm okay. Naomi, you're scaring me. I'm scared too, but I have to go. I love you. Take care of yourself. She hung up before Sarah could argue, before she could break. Minjun took the phone, destroyed the SIM card. I'm sorry. Don't. Not yet. She looked at the passports, at the man who'd burned his entire life for her. Where do we go? Vietnam first, Hanoi. We disappear into the backpacker trail for a while, move every few weeks, eventually somewhere more permanent. Chile maybe, Argentina, somewhere they won't look. And we just start over? New names, new lives. Unless you want to go home. I can get you on a plane to Atlanta tonight, protected until you're in American airspace. You didn't choose this. You don't have to run. She should have taken it, should have saved herself, gone home, rebuilt a normal life. Instead, she picked up the Canadian passport with her photo and a name that wasn't hers. I'm already running. Might as well run with you. His relief was physical, shoulders dropping, something like hope in his expression. You're sure? No, but I love you, and apparently that's enough to make very stupid decisions. He kissed her then, desperate and grateful and terrified, and for a moment it felt like maybe they'd survive this. They left Korea that night on a cargo flight to Hong Kong, then commercial to Hanoi. Passports passing inspection because Daehyun's connections were that good. Naomi watched Seoul disappear beneath clouds, the city that had held her dreams and broken them, the life she was leaving behind. Minjun held her hand the entire flight. Hanoi was humid chaos, the smell of street food and exhaust, the sound of motorbikes and vendors. They found a cheap hostel in the old quarter, paid cash, registered under names that tasted foreign in Naomi's mouth. The room was barely bigger than a closet, one bed, shared bathroom down the hall. "This is different from that restaurant in Cheongdam-dong," she said. "Welcome to the rest of our lives." They existed in limbo, moving every 3 weeks, never staying long enough to be memorable. Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City, to Bangkok, to Kuala Lumpur, to Jakarta. Each city a blur of heat and noise and paranoia. Minjun constantly scanning for threats. Naomi learning to be someone who didn't exist. She stopped taking photographs. The camera felt too permanent, too traceable. Instead, she waited tables in backpacker bars, taught English under the table, became invisible. Minjun worked security, fixings, anything that paid cash, and asked no questions. Sometimes she'd wake at 3 a.m. and find him staring at the ceiling, jaw tight, processing something he wouldn't share. "What are you thinking?" she'd ask. "That I made your life smaller. You kept me alive." Same thing sometimes. They fought, occasionally, about money, about safety, about the fact that he still wouldn't let her contact her family. Her mum's birthday passed unmarked. Christmas came and went in a hostel in Chiang Mai, eating pad thai and pretending it was normal. "I want to call my parents," she said on New Year's Eve. "No. It's been 4 months. They think I'm dead. Better than actually being dead." "Minjun, do you know what my father does to send messages? He finds the people you love. He hurts them slowly. He makes you watch. And then he kills you anyway." His voice was flat, reciting facts. "If you contact them, he finds them. If he finds them, they die. So no, you don't get to call." She hated him in that moment. Hated that he was right. They didn't celebrate the new year. They just survived into it. Month 5 brought news through a burner phone Daehyun had given them. A single text, encrypted, brief. "Father sick. Cancer. Months maybe." Wars paused. Everyone waiting to see who takes over. Minjun stared at that message for an hour, processing. His father, the dragon, the empire, the reason they were running, dying. "What does this mean?" Naomi asked. "It means the clock's changed. If he dies, the families have to renegotiate everything. Jiwon's father might not care about revenge anymore. Might be too busy positioning for the power vacuum. So we could go back? No, we could just stop running so hard." They stayed in Bali for 2 months after that, the longest they'd been anywhere. Rented a small house near Ubud, far from tourist beaches, surrounded by rice paddies and quiet. It almost felt normal, almost felt like a life. Naomi started taking photographs again. Nothing professional, just moments. Sunrise over the paddies, Minjun reading on their porch, a street dog that adopted them. Small, beautiful, temporary. "You're good at this," Minjun said, looking through her camera one evening. "I used to think I'd work for National Geographic, document real stories, important stories. This is real. We're real. We're ghosts. Ghosts can be real too." Month 6 brought the final message. "Father died. D inherits. He's calling it even. You're out. Don't come back, but you're out." Naomi read it 3 times before believing it. "We're free? From them. Not from what we did to get here." Minjun stared at the message like it might change. "My father's dead. I'll never see Korea again. You'll never see Atlanta again. We're free, but we're also gone." Yeah. They stayed in Bali, eventually bought the small house they'd been renting, paid cash, lived under names that still felt foreign, but fit better now. Minjun started teaching martial arts to backpackers. Naomi started selling prints online, small scale, anonymous, enough to contribute. They built something. Not what they'd planned, not what they'd chosen, but something real anyway. The tattoos on Minjun's arms faded slightly in the Bali sun, black ink softening to charcoal. But they never disappeared completely. Reminders of where he came from, what he'd left, the price they'd both paid. Sometimes Naomi dreamed about Seoul. The cherry blossoms in Uido, coffee in Hongdae, her apartment in Haebangchon, her life before. Sometimes Minjun woke up speaking Korean, processing dreams she couldn't follow. They didn't talk about it. What was there to say? 1 year after leaving Seoul, Naomi sent a postcard to Sarah. No return address, foreign postmark, just 4 words. I'm okay. I'm happy. She didn't know if it would arrive, didn't know if Sarah would understand, but she sent it anyway, because some lies were kind. That night, she and Minjun sat on their porch watching the sun set over rice paddies, the air heavy with jasmine and distance. He reached for her hand. Do you regret it? He asked. She thought about everything. Her career, her family, her name, her life. Everything she'd given up for a man who'd lied to her for 8 months. Everything she'd sacrificed for. Love that started with deception. Ask me tomorrow. And if I ask tomorrow, I'll tell you to ask me the next day. She squeezed his hand. Because some questions don't have answers. They just have choices. And I chose you. I keep choosing you. Even though I made your life smaller, you made it different. Smaller isn't always worse. They sat in silence as darkness fell. 2 people who'd burned their empires for each other, living in the ashes of everything they'd been. It wasn't the ending either of them had imagined. It wasn't happy in any traditional sense. But it was theirs. And some days that was enough. If this story found you when you needed it, pass it on to someone who's still searching for theirs. If you've ever chosen love over everything you were supposed to be, you belong here. Subscribe so these stories keep finding the people who need them. The camera on Naomi's desk held thousands of photos now, their life in fragments. Minjun's hands making coffee. Rain on, their roof, the street dogs sleeping in a patch of sun. Not National Geographic, not important by any traditional measure, but real, entirely, impossibly real. And in the end, the love that cost everything was the only kind worth having.